Hello and welcome to this video. I'm talking and sharing my feelings about just some different relationship struggles that I've gone through with family members, with lots of different people, and how I coped with it, how I have come out the other side, if you will. It's been a long, treacherous road. One in particular is with my father. I have not had the best relationship with my father for quite some time now. In 2017, I had a major epiphany awakening moment, if we want to call it that. And in 2017 is really when my healing journey started, specifically with my father. There was a lot of just unresolved issues between us from my childhood. I left home when I was very young. I was 16. So, and I've been fending for myself and basically taking care of myself since that age. Now, me obviously leaving has had a strain on the relationship, but me leaving in the first place was because there was already a strain on my relationship, so with my father. And there was just, we were constantly butting heads and not seeing eye to eye with things. And the biggest issue that I was having personally was just this need for control. Like, there was such a need for him to always want to control me and tell me how to live my life. As a matter of fact, he's been obviously a huge influence in my life, um, in so many different ways, both positive and negative. Um, but that influence has really shaped me to become who I am today. It has really transformed me into this resilient woman that I am now. And it's a great day to cut grass. So, yeah, we've, like I said, had a very strained relationship for most of my life. And this year, I want to say, has been a culmination point for me. And I've been talking about this in many of my other videos for people, just mentioning that this year is truly a culmination point. This is such a transformative year this year, and being a number 6 year, 2022, in terms of numerology, 222 adds up to a 6. That 6 resonates with the number of family, also relationships, but family in particular. So there's, and family in like, as in your extended family, your immediate family, the family that you currently have. So all the different family aspects have truly come up in a very profound way for me this year, and has been, like, on the one hand, difficult to navigate because I've had such a seesaw with my father. This relationship has been so back and forth for so long. And what I've come to really understand is that the reason why our relationship was so strained was because he wanted to put me in a box. And he did put me in a box. And he had this little bubble, this imagination, this fantasy in his mind of who I am. And it wasn't aligned with the truth of who I am. And this is the reason why we are now at the stage where we're at in our relationship, is because I have grown exponentially. I have overcome that limitation that he placed upon me from the time that I was a little girl. And I've now broken free from that box. I've basically busted that box right open. And I know this is something that has made him feel very uncomfortable. This has put an insane amount of strain on our relationship, because I just can no longer be that person that he wants me to be, or that he imagined me to be. And when you break a pattern with a narcissist, when you break out of that mold that they had put you in and where they have wanted to keep you, it can be extremely challenging for both the narcissist and the person experiencing the narcissist, because we both had to go through a huge transformation. For him, it felt like I pulled the rug out from under him, which is what he expressed to me multiple times. He still to this day believes that I am the one who is in the wrong, and that I have done something wrong by being myself, by loving and accepting myself, and by putting myself into a position of growth where I no longer feel the need for his validation. I no longer feel the need for his approval, which was something that I was literally dying to have. I always, always wanted my father's approval. I thought very highly of him, and I had put him on a very high pedestal in my mind ever since I was a little girl. And he put himself there in a way in our minds. He put himself on a pedestal in our minds and made us believe that he was just this huge, grandiose person with, all these dreams and ideas and so much knowledge. Like, he's extremely knowledgeable. However, book smarts does not equal to heart smarts, right? It really doesn't. And there's a huge difference between expressing love to your children through your heart and through really just accepting them and loving your children as they are, versus loving your children conditionally, which is what happened with us, which is what I experienced and still to this day experience from my father, right? It's a conditional love. He loves me if I do what he wants me to do. He loves me if I call him when he wants me to call him and as many times as he wants me to call him, right? Like, there's so many conditions placed on this love, and I was so blind to it for so long. I didn't see it. I didn't understand that this is narcissism. I had to really dive into researching narcissism and figuring that out and what that even meant. I had no idea. I didn't know what gaslighting was. I didn't know what a lot of these things were, because this was so normal for me, for my experience. It was so normal for me to experience it every single day, that it really, I didn't know any different. I genuinely didn't know any different. And I just thought that I was being the bad daughter in some way, because I was constantly getting yelled at. I was constantly being put down by my father, because that is how he saw me. That was his manipulation tactic, and that is how he was keeping me in alignment with himself. And this year, what happened for me is, with between, I think, all of the energy going on and these eclipses and all this wonderful stuff, what this year has done for me is it actually busted me out of that illusion, that complete blindedness that I was sitting in. It completely blew the lid off of it. And now I have so much clarity around the fact that life is truly about me honoring myself and me acknowledging who I am on the inside, versus me needing other people's approval, versus me needing my father's approval or his love or conditional love, or anything for that matter. I don't have that need within me. There's like a ceiling that I broke, a glass ceiling that I broke within myself, that allowed me to push through this cage. I truly was living in a cage. And it's incredible when we live in narcissistic relationships with people, how much we don't realize that we are actually the ones being victimized, even though they're the ones constantly making it like they're the victim. In actuality, they make other people the victim. And the other pieces is that I really recognized with my father that it was his, and is his, lack of ability to heal, his lack of ability to take his life into his own hands, and his lack of willingness to admit that he's wrong, or to admit that he has messed up in some way, has been extremely painful, like for him too. Like, I see how he is suffering so much, and how his suffering is ultimately what is pouring over and onto us and onto his entire family, right? Because it just pours out of him. And I know that he so desperately wants to be loved and wants to be nurtured and wants to be supported. However, he doesn't see that simultaneously that's like, he has to give that to himself first and foremost. And he still is seeking that external approval, just the way I was seeking that external approval. And now I understand why I was seeking that external approval. It was because that's what I learned from him. That's what I learned through his behavior. He was always seeking other people's approval outside of him, and he was never giving that approval to himself. As a matter of fact, he would talk very negatively about himself oftentimes, and saying like he had this fundamental belief and has this fundamental belief that he's not good enough. And it's that feeling of his lack of self-confidence and his lack of self-worth that he constantly was projecting onto me and onto my siblings and my mom and everyone else. And that is what was creating so much turmoil. And as a parent myself, like, it's so cool to recognize these things, and it's so important to awaken to these truths and to realize when you are under somebody's thumb and that you are being controlled and manipulated for their benefit, like, because they lack something within themselves, and therefore constantly project that lack onto you and then expect you to come back and fill their cup. And like I said, this is something that I used to do before. Like, I used to, and now I know because it's a learned behavior, I used to expect other people to fill my cup. And to a certain degree, it's like, we all do this. And to some degree, I probably still expect others to fill my cup. And we also need that sometimes. Like, we need other people to fill our cup, but you have to do the filling about 90% of the way. Right? If you have your cup 90% full, which means that you have cultivated deep self-love and connection to yourself, where you understand who you are, you understand your soul, your soul's mission, your soul's journey, you understand the learning that you're a part of, that you're going through, and then you're really going to surpass all of these lessons. But at the same time, I find I had to go through the lessons in order to get to the other side, to become excuse me, who I am now, to become enlightened. I had to go through tremendous suffering and tremendous amount of disappointment and a tremendous amount of heartache and heartbreak, with this father-daughter relationship within my relationship with my dad. And I had to go through this process to come over to the other side of awakening, to realizing, because this was my life lesson, and this was something that I had to learn, was, that ego and narcissism is not love. And that I also learned, that it's my job to fill my own cup. And it's also, and what filling that cup looks like for all of us is individual, but one of the main key things that I know for myself that I needed to do to be able to fill my own cup is to cut those relationships out of my life, to cut off narcissistic people and remove them from my life altogether, so that I don't keep falling into their trap. Because now, see, I can't fall into their trap because I just see the truth of what it is. And I realize that, I am who I am, and my job is not to fill anybody's cup, and it's not really my job to bring love and happiness to other people. We must cultivate that within ourselves. And I learned this through having a narcissistic father, and through going through everything that we went through, and all of the times that I was rejected and disowned by him. Like, man, I can't even tell you some of the nasty things that he has said to me, and I think most people wouldn't have put up with half of it. But I just felt such a deep love for my father, and I still to this day feel love for him. I can still love and appreciate him and his light side. And I see his shadow side. I'll be honest with you, I don't love his shadow side. It is something that I'm actually working on, trying to accept and love his shadow side as well. But I find right now at this stage of my life, what needs to happen for my own peace of mind is just to like pat myself on the back and be okay with the fact that, at least I've come this far, and at least I've been able to really get myself to a place of happiness now within myself, where I no longer seek that approval from him, and now I don't feel bad or guilty or sad, when I don't get that approval. I just know that that is the reality of who he is, and I'm learning to fill my own cup. So, my message here for you, and I mean, I talked very specifically about my father, so this is like one relationship in my life, but this is the growth that I have accomplished because of going through this very difficult process with him. And I'm grateful for it. I truly am. And I feel actually very blessed to be on the other side of it. I was not feeling blessed, obviously, and quite honestly, while I was going through the process of, being belittled and put down and disowned, and all the other stuff. That was not fun, and that was not the great part of the journey, but that was certainly the part of the journey that it's like it had to keep happening over and over again until I finally got the message that, this man really is not able to provide the kind of love and support that I am hoping for and that I would like to experience. And so if I'm not receiving that, it doesn't matter who he is in my life. He just has to go. It cannot stay, because I keep giving love and kindness to the relationship, but what I keep getting back is the opposite, is his self-hate and his projections of anger towards me for not doing more to fill his cup. So realize who people are in your life right now, I think I think we have a really good opportunity to see much more clearly who relationships truly are and what they truly are and what they show us and what they represent to us, because that's just one person out of quite a few. And there's other people in my life that I've had similar experiences with, probably for the same reason, just to kind of reiterate that lesson for me and to help me understand that this is big, Kata. This is a big lesson for you. You have to see narcissism for what it is. You need to learn to identify it, and you need to learn to adapt and know how to respond appropriately to it. And that is why I think it kept happening over and over. Like I said, not just with my father, but with other people, also family members, ironically. So this is definitely a karma for me. Karma is really just means lessons. I feel anything that we have to go through in order to gain a new perspective or insight. So that's my message today about learning, deep truths and lessons about yourself and about your family members and who they truly are in your life and how they truly show up for you in your life. So be real and honest, I think, with yourself, and really try to look at relationships more objectively. I found I had to pull myself out of the relationship and pretend for a moment like he wasn't my father, and I just pretended like he was just some man that I knew. And I asked myself, would you put up with this behavior? Would you put up with the toxic things that he's saying to you? And would you tolerate this from a stranger, from someone that you didn't know? And my answer was an immediate absolutely not. And then I asked myself the question, then why are you putting up with it from him? Because he's your father? The definition of father in my eyes and in my value system is one who is loving and supporting no matter what. One that does not place conditions on his love for his children, but he stands up and shows up as a provider no matter what, because that is the role that he has accepted once he has chosen to become a father. So that is my definition of a father, and that is how I view a father in terms of what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to show up. And above all, I think lovingly, it doesn't matter if you're a broke daddy or a rich daddy. Do you love your children, and do your children feel that love from you? That's what it really comes down to. So let's look at relationships from a different perspective and maybe put things under the microscope or under a magnifying glass at the minimum, and really ask yourself the question: if someone was treating me that way, whom I didn't know, who was a complete stranger to me, would I still put up with it? So that's my video for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and for watching. And please give this video a like, a share, and a subscribe if you found this information useful and if you resonate with the content. I truly appreciate your support. Thank you so much for being here and for listening. And I wish you all the best. And I wish you strength and lots of fortitude to keep moving forward in your life and to stand up for yourself. Take care, guys. Bye.